The Xbox Drive is powered by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I want to thank our Diamond executive producers, Slimer Snarf, Jonathan Brown, and Lee Navarro. Our gold members, Xavier Reyes, Tabitha Carroll, Becky Grockmall, Ashley Nicholson, Argo, Gene K, Marcus O'Neill, Ray Sony Pony Martinez, Trucker Sloth, Zach Bradshaw, Skinny Matt, and James Johnson. If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/YumiCapri. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford, the man on the moose, and on our journey today, I've almost forgotten how to do this intro. We've got a ton of your questions to get to and maybe a little giveaway to talk about too. So jump on in to the Xbox Drive.
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
All right, I'm giving myself a headache from yelling and screaming. I don't know what's going on, man. I'm all in my own head because I messed up the intro last week and I don't even know how to start the show anymore.
I mean, you know, I was amazed you were able to even get it through that intro in one piece, Sean. I mean, you're like cracking up the whole time. And this was, and for folks at home, that wasn't the first time we recorded that. So it's just like
we did 37 takes and that was the best one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to be fair, we at the Xbox Drive, since we're in a car, we like to roll with things, okay? Because just like wheels in
like
a car.
our R's.
Yeah, so we just,
and our R's. That's what I'm doing. I'm rolling my R's like the wheels on the car. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Sean, what is this show?
I know, it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
We should probably just get to cleaning the garage before we
just clean it out.
Silliness. So first off, for the folks that have been watching us on YouTube for a while, we've been talking about this mythical contest about us reaching 500 subscribers. And when we hit 500 subscribers, we'll give away 1 year of Game Pass. That's still going to be a thing. But Sean, we decided to sweeten the deal a little bit. We are actually going to be giving away an additional year of Game Pass when we hit 250 subscribers, which we're 7 away from the time we're recording this on Wednesday. So if you are watching this on YouTube, if you like what we do and you want to be entered into this awesome giveaway for a year of Game Pass, all you got to do is subscribe to us here on the Xbox Drive. If you're listening to us on podcast feeds and you're not watching us on YouTube, first of all, you should watch the video because it's awesome because it's Sean in the car and everything. But you can go to youtube.com/the Xbox Drive, subscribe to us there, and you will be entered into the giveaway. Again, we will do the drawing for that when we hit 250 subscribers, and anyone who's subscribed is automatically entered to win that awesome prize. And of course, that's a huge thanks to our friends over at Xbox Canada who provided us the codes for this. So yeah, 1 year of Game Pass, hopefully pretty soon. Hopefully by the time the next time we record, we'll be giving that away, Sean. It's pretty exciting.
I have no doubt. 250 subs, let's do it, man. Totally.
I mean, we can do 7 in a week, Sean. We can get 7 subscribers.
No problem.
Week, right?
There's so much good. It's not even just this show, too. We've got gameplay. We've got Tetris Effect just went up that I kind of scheduled a long time ago. I totally forgot was going up there. We've got more stuff coming on in, man. Lots of Series X content. And Ryan and I are really doing our best to record at 4K 60 whenever possible. So I don't know who else is doing that, but the Xbox Drive is doing it somehow, managing to do all this stuff that makes Ryan makes the videos look and sound so good, even though I'm recording in a car. For God's sakes, the YouTube channel is good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy, but obviously, you know, there's nothing wrong with just listening on to the audio foods as well. I mean, we're not trying to force you to go watch the video.
Lots of people doing that, by the way. I just want to say thank you to everybody if people are jumping on the show for the first time, thank you, welcome. There's a lot of people newly interested in Xbox right now, of course, with the launch and everything. But yeah, the show is bigger than it's ever been. We continue to rank particularly well on Spotify, which is awesome. And right alongside our friends at the Xbox Empire as well. We're all having a good time, man. It's a great time to be an Xbox fan. Good time to be doing an Xbox podcast, for sure.
For sure, my friend. Well, speaking of being a good time to be an Xbox fan, we are still playing Halo every Saturday night, except last weekend because I wasn't there, but everyone else was there. Because I was there. So if you would like to get in on playing Halo with myself, Sean, and the rest of our community, you can join our Discord server, the Yumi and Capri Discord server, by following the link in the show notes or the description of this video if you are watching on YouTube. We do have a really fun and cool community over there, so we'd love if you came over and say hello. But also, if you want to play Halos with us, like Joel Brooks or Console Kato or Xavier or whoever else wants to play with us, you gotta come play with us every Saturday night, right, Sean?
Yeah, man, it's been so fun. And like the thing is, we jump on with like Console Kato or Kato Potato or Master Chief Potato. I'm not sure what we're supposed to call it. She's so good at this game, and we have some people who are really good. But at the same time, like it doesn't matter. We're all having so much fun, whether we're in first or last. We have so many people joining us that we have our own private matches. It's like it's just us jumping on a voice chat, and it's a throwback, man. Somebody was like, I can't remember who said it, but it was kind of like it's a virtual LAN party, which is basically what online multiplayer is. But for some reason, because of this quarantine year, it just feels like we're all like rediscovering Halo, and we're all like virtually connecting our LAN parties and jumping on a voice chat. So it has that same feel as like Halo did back in the day, probably just because it is Halo. But the Halo Master Chief Collection is so good. It runs great on the Series X. I'm sure it runs well on the S as well. And now it's crossplay, dude. So we had Jason Lacey from Fluxipose playing on his PC as well. So our group can actually open up to people who maybe only have PC. So that's what the whole like ecosystem is all about. And we had a great time on Saturday, and I've got no other plans on this Saturday, so we're gonna keep going, man.
Very nice, my friend. All right, well, let's also do our drive-by shout-out real quick. Of course, this is our tribute to our YouTube comment section where we read our YouTube comments aloud. And this one is from Eric Cave. Eric Cave has been on the show quite a few times with the drive-by shout-outs, but he always leaves great comments. So let's read his from this week. Another great show. I found myself really jealous of Sean and all of the snow out his window. It was just cold and rainy here in Portland, Oregon. I have heard it said that the Valhalla issues, he's speaking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla specifically, with Xbox Series S and X have to do with the developer tools not being as robust as those found for PS5, and has nothing to do with the power of the console. So I think what he's referring to is Digital Foundry released a recent video about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, basically comparing it between the S, the X, and the PS5. And it turned out that the PS5 actually came out on top. But it just, I think from the sound of it, and this is kind of what Eric is kind of pointing out here, it sounds like the developer tools that third parties might have had at the time of the console launch might not have been as robust as the PS5 dev kits, for example, which seems
bizarre,
odd to me,
isn't it? Isn't that like really weird? It seems like the continuity is there for Xbox. It seems like that would have been in their favor. It would have been easier to go from, programming games for One X to the Series X. But yeah, I've literally no idea how to make games, but this is shocking to me for sure. Yeah.
But I will say something though, in counter to that point though, where a big issue with Assassin's Creed Valhalla that has been reported on Xbox is the massive screen tearing that happens if you don't have variable refresh rate on your TV. And I can tell you, as someone who played it for 40 hours on Xbox One X, that problem is in that version of the game too. Like not just the next gen version, it's on the last gen version of the Xbox version as well. So I know that that's a problem that's kind of permeated towards it, and maybe it's just that when Ubisoft was programming the game for Xbox, they had maybe assumed that to develop it with variable refresh rate in mind, because if you have a VRR enabled TV, you don't run into that issue. It's only when you don't have a variable refresh rate monitor attached to your console that you do run into that issue. But the problem is that's like 95% of people who own Xbox Ones or Xbox Series X and X. So yeah, it's just I don't know what happened there. I hope it gets patched at some point because it is definitely noticeable throughout your entire experience, regardless of what console you're playing on or what type of display you're playing it on. Even on my 15-inch monitor that I have at my desk that I play on when I'm doing captures, I still see it there too. So it's just like, it's just one of those things where
it's really too bad, because it's like, that's kind of, I don't know about you, Ryan, but like that to me is like Assassin's Creed is it's the launch game. Right. Like without Halo and really anything else, it's like, that's what Xbox fans have as the launch game with their Series X. And it's like, and that one isn't kind of performing as well as you would expect it to, at least comparatively. To be honest with you though, I haven't noticed anything. Like the screen tearing, yes, but in terms of like frame counts, I'm not noticing when it goes from 60 to 47. Like I don't know. I guess I just don't see that. So I was actually very surprised to see that this was coming out of the Digital Foundry kind of investigations. But that's why they're so good at it, and I do what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And same here. Like I will notice frame dips, but not when it's like from 60 to 50 or something like that. Like that's very negligible to the human eye while you're playing, or at least that's just what I've found in my personal experience. But obviously everyone perceives like visually looking at a game differently. So
well, and these reports and these videos kind of create a bit of a narrative, which is really, I think, one of the reasons I wanted to address this comment too, was that the narrative is that Xbox Series X is most powerful, and right out of the gates, we've got like I said, like this is kind of like the launch title for Xbox fans to play and show off the power. It's like the narrative is wrong. Like the narrative isn't that it's like outperforming the PS5, and so I think Xbox has got to get on this as soon as possible, and hopefully there's something coming from first party that can really demonstrate the power of the Series X. So this is what we've all bought into. We've all been talking like we know what a teraflop is for about a year, and we want to see that. So I think it's really important that they turn that around really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I'm curious to know what actually happened here, especially because the issue isn't on PlayStation consoles at all, but it's just it's very bizarre. It's just very bizarre. But,
Mark Cerny magic happening over there. He's got his fairy dust, his Cerny dust. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's segue nicely from Assassin's Creed back to Assassin's Creed with the playlist, Sean, because we mostly just played Assassin's Creed this week. It kind of dominated our time this week. So, Sean, I finished the game, but where are you in the game?
You're so far ahead. Okay, so well, I mean, I was never ever gonna catch you. That's without a doubt. I have now discovered the assassination tree. I'm now going to be tracking down a whole bunch of people. This probably makes you feel like, God, you're only there.
Yes,
but I feel like it's very early in. But I'm now tracking down like members of the Order. The Ancient Order, and that is very similar to Odyssey, and I love that. You discover clues as you go around the world and kill other people. You find out like who is this person and where are they living, where can I find them, and they're all linked together. And it's this big web of people this is kind of like what Assassin's Creed means to me now. Like a lot of people have made the comment and observation that Assassin's Creed has moved on from its stealth origins and now just adopts like this action RPG type of thing. But to me, like the hunting down specific individuals in this way that's representative of what Assassin's Creed is to me now. And I love it, man. It's provided me with a little bit more purpose and direction, even though I'm perfectly fine just going on raiding all of these different forts or colonies or castles or whatever they are. And I'm loving it, dude. One cute little bug that I found the other night that I tried to capture and share, but my capture was really dark, which was weird.
Oh,
Maybe
that's an Xbox
happening.
specific problem that needs to be patched. With specific games.
Super. I wanted to share it because what was happening was I was rolling up in my longship in my boat, and when you go up to a shore and you want to raid whatever it is, a castle or a colony or something, Ivor blows this battle horn, which is awesome. It's just I was like, brrr, it's perfect. But this bug had her holding the horn up to her ear.
No.
as if she was blowing the horn out of her ear. It was so great. Anyway, nothing really to do with the game, but I continue to fall more and more in love with this. I was very trepidatious about it at the start with it, Ryan, but you were right. Once you get into England, things kind of pick up and the game is unfolding itself as the hours go on. So if people are kind of like early on in, it's not just that the game gets better, it seems to evolve, it seems to grow, and that like into its final form. And I don't think that I'm quite there. And that design is really interesting to me because it's not like I've been having to wait and go through things that are not fun to get to this point. Yeah. It's been fun, and I kind of max out, okay, I see what you're doing here, and then they go, cool, here's another page that you can turn and dive into more elements of the game, which has been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I love how it slowly unveils itself to you throughout its gameplay and throughout the story. Like the first 10 hours, it's a very different game from the start of those 10 hours than it is at the end of those first 10 hours.
Right.
And it's definitely more, so you're probably starting to see some of the elements that they're pulling from Origins and Odyssey, and it's almost like a nice blend of both games. which is one of the things I kind of like about Valhalla. And yeah, like I said last week, like once it gets going, it really gets going. And especially
I
the
killed
story,
a giant. I tracked down like this mythical thing that was like throwing the livestock all over the place, and there's this weird green mold that was happening. It's like, who or what is causing this? And then you track down the monster that did it, and then there's another add-on to that I don't really want to spoil, but like there's these side missions that has nothing to do with the story, at least I don't think, but it's critical to the overall gaming experience. And to your point, it totally reminded me of Odyssey. And I was like, man, I think I probably lost about 2 hours the other night, not realizing that I was in Assassin's Creed just for that long. And that's the meat and potatoes of it. That's the hooks that it gets in me.
My God. Yeah. I mean, this game, again, as I've said it over the last couple of weeks, because that's pretty much been dominating my life. Like, it's been very hard to put down this game. And I'm so glad it's finally
I'm starting
over.
to see it. I'm starting to believe it, man. I didn't quite latch onto Watch Dogs like you. Wait a minute. They have Looney Tunes toys at McDonald's today?
You're
I've
totally
been staring at the
Looney
screen
Tunes
for like the last 5 minutes. We're getting Happy Meal toys today, guys. Oh, boy.
I thought it was just going to be dollar coffee day, Sean.
No way. No, we're getting oh, man. How exciting.
My God.
Looney Tunes, those look great. Okay, what have you been playing? Have you been playing most of this, or you were traveling?
So I should first finish Assassin's Creed real quick, because I actually just finished the game on Friday. I finished it at 78 hours into the game, which
that's pretty good.
Which I calculated that would have meant that I put in an average of 6 hours per day since the game came out, or I should say 6 hours per day since we received our copy of the game, which was even a little bit early. So,
right,
yeah, I put a ton of time into it, and the best part is I'm only 71% finished the game. There's still another 30% of stuff to find out in the world. I'm also finding there's all kinds of really
hang on, Ryan. I need to tell. Hi there. Can I? What Looney Tunes toys do you have today?
I'm sorry.
What do you have? Looney Tunes toys? Is that what I saw for the Happy Meals? Oh, it says right here on the thing. Are they? Yeah, Looney Tunes toys. The Bugs Bunny and Tweety. It's right on the like you guys. I'm gonna show you on the video. It's right there. Hopefully you can. Oh,
I don't believe
it flipped the screen. I swear to God, it's there. They're making me look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Like a fool, Sean. Like a fool.
They're asking around. They're making me kind of sound like an idiot right now.
We have Sylvester and Sweetie.
Oh, can I get both of those, please? One of each. And yes, can I get a large decaf with 2 Splenda and a large Diet Coke? That's it, guys. I did it.
Did you do it?
How much
Sean?
do you think the toys are, Ryan? Sure thing. Yep.
Thank you. $11.30, please.
No problem. I can't say no to a donation when I'm being recorded on podcast.
Did
you hear what she asked me?
You can't. You've got the pressure's on you, Sean.
The pressure is on. She's like, do you want to donate to Ronald McDonald House? I'm like, I mean, yeah, everybody's watching.
Well, especially because you're buying toys. You're buying toys. It just fits the theme, Sean.
I got money for toys, but ain't money for... Yeah, because I'm not a very philanthropic type of person, Ryan Turford.
Yeah, exactly.
This person can go ahead. Yeah, no problem. That's how this works. Absolutely. Totally. Do you have like the drive-thrus with the 2 lanes? It's a very confusing and conflicting things for Canadians, because we're supposed to be polite, but we're also very hungry at this stage, Ryan.
I mean, we really don't have drive-thrus where I live in Toronto, Sean, because the city's too condensed for that. But anyway,
fair enough.
I'm going to get back to my story. So, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There's so much more to still see and do in the world, and even though I've put 78 hours in, I could foresee that in order to 100% this game, it's going to take about 120 hours. Because if I just do the rough calculations, it's going to take forever, because there's a whole bunch of other places you go. There's a whole bunch of other secrets in the world to find. And I love my time with it. But as you kind of alluded to, Sean, I was actually traveling this week. In fact, I was basically away from my apartment for 5 days of visiting my family, because it was my first time seeing my family since March. So it's been a very long time since I've seen my family. And I was actually without my Xbox for 5 days. So
how dare you?
I know. So
you could even brought your Series S. Like, it's so light and portable. It fits in a backpack.
That's true. I could have, and yet I forgot to do that. So I had my laptop with me, luckily. So I ended up actually playing World of Warcraft Shadowlands, because luckily that came out this week. So
you dork, I love it.
I mean,
look at these things. These things are awesome. They're cute little toys. Oh, the kids are gonna love them. I'm totally giving them to the kids. I should have got 2. I should have kept some for myself.
You should have.
Sorry, World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft Shadowlands, of course. It's on PC. It just came out this week. I'm level 54 because you start at level 50, because that's where the last level cap kind of leaves off. And I've been having a ton of fun with this game too. So I think it's going to steal my time a little bit away because my Xbox backlog is actually pretty up to date. I don't really have too many games on the Xbox backlog for now, and I don't really want to start anything too big until because we have games
got Cyberpunk
like
coming.
Cyberpunk. We've got Immortals. We've got Puyo Puyo Tennis 2. We've got Dragon Quest 11. Like all those games are out in
and Game Pass
a
too.
week and a half. So.
Oh, speaking of, okay, we were talking about Halo and everybody getting together on Saturdays as well. Something might throw a wrench into that. What is Destiny's improvements and optimizations coming? Is that December 8th?
I think
I've asked this literally every week for the last 3 weeks.
8th.
So I think we're going to have to do a little something there, Ryan Turford, because that's also crossplay. That's one of the updates it's getting is crossplay.
Cool.
So yes, you're right. We have lots to do. I wanted to ask you too, like I would love to do a spoiler cast on Assassin's Creed, but like, golly, when the heck am I going to finish that? You'll have to like remember everything about that game when I finally finish it in April 2021.
We'll try and make it work because I think that would be a good game to do a spoiler cast for. I mean, worst case scenario, Sean, I'll just play it again. I mean,
you could probably play it twice over.
Well, I don't know about that, but we'll figure something else out as well. So, and yes, we will be actually posting a final review because we did do a review in progress that only covered the Xbox One X version, and it was only 20 hours in. So I actually do like a final review, and I think I might actually have a really good guest lined up for that as well. So. We'll talk about that at a later time. But enough of that. I'm slamming the brakes on this conversation, Sean.
All right.
It's time for some breaking news. And let's get into this news because we got a lot of listener questions to get to now. I want to make sure we got some time
for sure.
So first news story, and this one got me super excited when it got announced. IO Interactive have announced Project 007, a new James Bond title coming sometime soon. We don't have a release date or anything for that. It's an officially licensed James Bond game from the makers of Hitman. And here's the thing, Sean. I've never really been into the Hitman games, but the reason why I've never been into those games is because I'm not really into like the Hitman motif.
Bald dudes.
If it makes anything.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong against bald dudes per se, but it's just, just like doing the assassination thing and trying to get into parties and stuff like that. I don't know. There's something about their like the Hitman vibe that I don't jive with. But man, take that formula and apply James Bond to it, and you better believe you're going to get Ryan Turford to play that game.
Do you think it's going to be third person as well, or like first person? Like,
it'll be probably a
GoldenEye?
third person stealth game.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah,
man. This is really. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like I'm exactly the same as you. I have a huge amount of appreciation for the Hitman series, but I've never really gotten into it myself. But that didn't stop me from seeing this and going, well, that's the perfect pairing I've ever seen in my entire damn life. Like, I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. And I have a big question, though, Ryan, for you. What do you think about, because as far as I know, Hitman is mainly or only single-player experience. So, when people think about James Bond and video games, we think about GoldenEye and playing multiplayer. And I'm wondering if that's going to be something that they even strive for, if this is going to be a single-player experience only.
I would be shocked if there's any multiplayer of any kind in this game besides like asynchronous multiplayer, like I don't know, like leaderboards for speed trials or something. Like I don't think I don't think there's gonna be deathmatch or anything like that. I mean, it'll also be interesting to see how the shooting mechanics work in this game too, because that's one of the other things about Hitman that has kind of like rubbed me the wrong way is the shooting mechanics never feel quite right in those games. So I'm interested to see how much shooting there's going to be in this James Bond game. But definitely like the stealth elements and the way that they'll probably integrate some of the spy tech into it. Like I think all that stuff's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I highly suspect it will very much be like the Hitman games, but with James Bond attached to it. So probably no multiplayer. It's not going to be a first-person shooter. Like I don't think it's going to be reinventing the wheel for them. I don't think it's going to be like a dramatic departure. I think it's going to be similar in nature to their other games. So, I mean,
which I can't decide where I land on that. Like, because that's kind of all I want. But at the same time, I'm like, I want to be also surprised in a way as well. Like, I kind of want to be like, oh, they did this as well. Like, they added something to the Hitman formula that I don't know. But at the same time, it sounds perfect. Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
That's it. I don't know.
A big tank or something.
Yeah, or just the cars, because James Bond is known for the cars with the gadgets. So.
I was doing a throwback to the GoldenEye games, but you're right. Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yeah. Well, to the point where there was a 007 racing game, Sean, on PS2. So
stop. Is there really? I didn't know that.
There is a 007. It's called 007 Racing. The last time we had a James Bond game was a real long time ago. It was actually 007 Legends on Xbox 360. I think that was in like 2012 that came out. So it's been a long time since we've had a good James Bond game, or just a James Bond game, because 007 Legends was not a very good game. But we've had some good James Bond games in recent memory, like Bloodstone was pretty good. Quantum of Solace was really good. The GoldenEye remake with Daniel Craig was pretty good. So we have had good games. Also, do you think it'll be Daniel Craig, Sean, or do you think it'll be a different, or generic Bond?
I don't know. I love Daniel Craig. I think he's like the epitome of James Bond. I think he's great. But I've also, every time that a new James Bond has come out since basically Pierce Brosnan, I like Pierce Brosnan as well. So yeah, I would like to see that as well, man. Yeah. Like the thing that also comes to mind, Ryan, is that like licensed games in general have gotten so much better since that last 360 game that you had mentioned. I feel like even just Batman Arkham Asylum changed everything on how what our expectations can be for licensed properties in video games. So hopefully, like fingers crossed, hopefully they nail it, but it does seem like a perfect pairing.
For sure. All right. Next news story, with an interview with The Verge, Phil Spencer stated that he believes that there will be an Xbox game streaming app starting to appear on smart TVs within the next 12 months. I think he was specifically asked about this because they talked about the idea of doing like a Fire Stick before, or like an Xbox stick equivalent, I guess, like a media device. But it turns out that apparently when he was asked what boundaries there were for them to get into the smart TV game, Phil very off the cuff said there weren't any, and that this was something that was thoroughly being explored. So it's not so much an announcement as that more of a confirmation that this is something that they're working on, and it's something that we can probably see on like Sony or LG TVs probably within the next year or so, which I think is actually really exciting. Like imagine if
that would be nuts.
Imagine buying like a Samsung TV, for example, that came with a code for Game Pass, and it came with a controller in the box with your TV remote. Like how cool would that be?
Well, it'd be perfect, like for me personally, because does Chelsea need her own Series X? Like probably not. But like if I had my Series X and then for her, like we've got our TV side by side. So if we could still play side by side, but hers is streaming and I've got like a Series X, I think that would be awesome. And I think there's, not that that's the exact situation that everybody's going to find themselves in, but it adds so much flexibility to adding to gaming, and that's the whole purpose of it, that people will find their own like tie into that. Like they'll work that way into their lives, and I think that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, but I think they just gets the Xbox platform into the hands of many, many more gamers, I think, or many, many more just people in general who might not actually be into Xbox at all. So yeah, I love the idea of this, and this is something we had speculated about when they talked about the idea of putting xCloud on other things. So it's super cool to see them.
And it makes sense now that they've got the Series X out. It makes sense that they'll like kind of move on. Like the next year might be like the non-console kind of focus where they add on to it, and they've got supply issues and everything else kind of happening right now. People who want to get an Xbox, they're on top of it. And then for everybody else, that comes a year later. So that makes sense that it's kind of this tiered or phased approach where they get the early adopters, the consoles they want. And then for people who wouldn't have been early adopters anyways, they get something catered to them a little bit afterwards. So this totally makes sense to me.
For sure. Well, next up, we got some Call of Duty news, Sean. So Call of Duty's Black Ops Cold War's Nuketown 1984 map is available now, which of course is a classic Call of Duty map. But also its double XP event is now live. So it's actually, again, a new version of the Nuketown map. I think it's very similar, but it looks a little bit different, and there might be some small tweaks and changes to the map itself. But obviously, this is the perfect time to jump into Black Ops Cold War multiplayer because of the double XP and the new map. So that's definitely out there for anyone to try. Have you tried this map at all, Sean? Because I haven't touched Black Ops since I came home.
So we kind of skipped over some stuff that I'm remembering was in the doc about other games that I played. Was Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War with colons all in there too. I may or may not have started to play Call of Duty last night at 1:30 in the morning just so that I could jump on this thing to say I played through the first 3 missions of the campaign. But right now we're talking about multiplayer, so I'll stick to that. Nuketown is awesome, man. It always has been awesome. It's one of the most like perfect multiplayer maps. This thing is like flashy as all get out. It's got like 80s flair to it. There's like neon and just color everywhere. It doesn't seem like that, like the age old, like just browns. It's very, very vibrant and just just chaos, man. It's so fun. You've got people spawning all over the place. You think you're safe on your side, and then you've got 3 guys spawning behind you and taking you out from behind. It's a blast. And yeah, I had a couple of really good rounds with multiplayer last night. So I'm all over the multiplayer right now. I don't know when I'm supposed to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla or actually finish the campaign. You and I talked about maybe finishing Assassin's Creed first before going to Call of Duty. That's all well and good for you. I'm not going to be done Assassin's Creed until March of next year. So yeah. I jumped in. I think it's going to be a fairly short campaign. But Ryan, the thing that really surprised me was you kind of create a bit of a character. Did you know this about, did you know anything about the single player for Black Ops?
Yeah, I actually heard that this
cool.
morning.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm trying to remember. You and I maybe played a game a little while ago. What the heck? Oh, it was Watch Dogs, where you were choosing a perk, right. As part of your backstory. It was telling you something about your character, and that would lead you to have some sort of perk. And in Call of Duty, same thing. You can choose elements of your agent's backstory that you're playing as. And for me, I chose one of the backstories that allowed me to have faster aim down sights and also faster reload speeds. But you could have extra damage or extra health and a whole bunch of other different perks that you put together. So kind of an interesting thing that I don't remember being part of Black Ops before, but I don't really have a good memory. That might be something we get.
It's also been a long time since a Black Ops campaign, because Black Ops 2 was the last, Black Ops 3 was the last one, because Black Ops 4 didn't even have a campaign. So
good call.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we had one. And yeah, you couldn't do that in Black Ops 3. So
yeah, it's a cool campaign, man. Very, very different. Very, very 80s as well. But also some throwback. I was in a helicopter, I think, on the 3rd mission, just blowing shit up. So classic Call of Duty. And you and I have been playing Call of Duty for many, many years. But I always think about, for people who if this is their first Call of Duty, what would they think? Mm-hmm. And it is it's a gorgeous looking game. We've got the ray tracing, we've got the 4K, we've got all the things, and it looks great and it plays great sound. The sound is awesome on this Call of Duty. So once again, shout out to freaking Tony Baker from Quest for Pixels for buying this for me for Christmas, because I am having a blast.
What a nice young man.
What a nice man.
Well, Sean, it's time to segue into our new segment. This one just came out of nowhere. This one's called Fender Benders, where we say some things wrong. So I'm going to start with my wrong thing, and then I'm going to get to yours, because we both get our comeuppance a little bit this week. So first off, and this one, we've heard your cries loud and clear about this first one. And I'm going to quote this one. Ryan said Japan has the population of 4.5 million. Yes, I was wrong. It wasn't a bit. It was me. I just threw out a random number that I knew was wrong, because I didn't know the population of Japan off the top of my head. All I knew is they were a much smaller country than the United States population-wise, and that was the comparison I was trying to get across. So I apologize for being completely incorrect on that. They are actually 125 million strong.
It's not even close.
So again, I totally missed the mark. Again, I said it in a very joking way too. So I wasn't trying to say that was my serious.
Well, I kind of drew probably attention to it too. I was like, "What? They do? That's news to me, man." When I think of Japan, I think they're super crowded. But yeah, definitely more than a few people reached out to us to let us know what the true, with screenshots too of in Wikipedia or whatever it is saying. Verifying. Mm-hmm.
So I am definitely wrong on that one. But Sean. Zero Skill calls you out on Twitter, stating that you forgot to say the man on the moose in the intro. You forgot my nickname, apparently. I didn't even notice this until after Zero Skill pointed this out.
I will have to say I saw it afterwards, and it's kind of because he didn't actually say that it was part of the intro. He just said you forgot man on the moose. And I looked at that, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I realized wait a minute, the intro did feel weird, and you're bang on. I totally missed it. And it's funny how when you say and scream the same thing every week for weeks on end, that felt odd to me, Ryan. I didn't know exactly what it was, but it also, you kind of just feel weird screaming in your car driving down the road anyway. So you're just never sure what it could be. But yes, people notice when we mess up, and people should continue to submit their Fender Benders as I do this while I'm driving a car. Who cares?
And
but also, it's super fun to call out our faults. And Ryan forgets things.
I don't know.
It's very
everything.
Rare, though.
I know.
It is very rare.
I know all the stats of 007 Racing, but I don't know everything about the population of Japan, Sean. Okay, that's just how this works.
That's okay.
Don't ask me about the real world. Ask me about weird video games. Anyways,
you're right, man.
Sean, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It's time for the carpool, and we're going to start with Jason C at GCarping About. He asks, "What are 2 pluses that you haven't discussed at length about the Series X and Series S, as well as two negatives. So here's the thing, John. We've been pretty comprehensive with, I think, anyways, from our Series X and S talks. So I don't know how many points we have left that are unsaid. But is there anything you can think of to kind of respond to Jason's question here?
One thing that I don't have personal experience with, and maybe you can speak to it, but I was hearing something about Sea of Thieves that when it's installed on a Series X is somewhere around 40 gigabytes, but when it's installed on a Series S, it's somewhere around 17 gigabytes. This could be something that I also get a Fender Bender on, but I'm pretty sure that that's true. In which case, like the narrative on the hard drive space for the Series S, I think, is still untold and developing. So I think I would like to explore that a little bit more on. Does the 512 gigabyte hard drive on Series S, is that such a terrible thing? And maybe it's not. Maybe some of these games that actually have a smaller footprint on the Series S. That's one thing. The other thing, too, that is very specific to me, Ryan, is I move my Series X back and forth from where I stream beside my PC to where my TV is. I've had to change that. I used to just have a really long HDMI cable, but now I need a ultra speed HDMI, so I can't really do that anymore. So I've got to move it back and forth. And I have to say, it's so easy to do that. Like, I don't have to do any sort of like special shutdown. It seems like I just turn off the console and then I'm able to unplug it and move it back and forth. And that's been kind of surprising to me. That also, I guess, speaks to like the boot up time, that it's not prohibitively long. So I've been kind of enjoying that, like the portable somewhat nature of the Series X as I go back and forth.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, for me, because we again dove a lot into the Xbox Series S and X when we were talking with Donnie on that really long episode. So I think I've said kind of all the things that I've noticed, but also I've just had less time with both consoles than you have, combined with the fact that I got them a little bit later, and because I got them. And then I went away for 5 days. So I mean, I've had a little bit less time with my consoles. I mean, to be fair, they've been running great, and I haven't had any issues with it. Again, Assassin's Creed with the weird screen tearing is really the only issue I've had. And actually, that with what you're talking about with the Series S, I can confirm that that's true, because again, it's not loading in the 4K textures for a lot of these games.
Right.
So the file sizes are a lot smaller for a lot of the games. There are some that aren't optimized that way. Devil May Cry is an example of a game that includes both.
Just the same, no matter
it's the same
what.
size on both consoles. But again, like Call of Duty is much smaller on the Series S than it is on the X, for example. So
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it just depends on which console you're installing things to. Like that definitely rings true. But we have more questions. We're running out of time, so let's get to the next one from Todd Oxtra at Toxtra. He asks, what are your predictions for Xbox reveals at the Game Awards? So the Game Awards are coming up, I think December 10th, so pretty soon. Do you think, I mean, obviously, I think we both probably assume that Microsoft's going to have at least one thing, you would hope, here. But what do you think Microsoft has up their sleeve? We know it's not Halo.
What a hard thing. We do know it's not Halo, and what a tough thing to follow up, because last year they unveiled the damn console at the Game Awards. And yeah, it's got to be something new. It can't be like something like Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming. I feel like it does have to be something new. I actually don't know, man. What do you want from them?
I mean, honestly, if they have a game in the next 6 months that they're releasing, put that trailer here. Even if it's Psychonauts. I will take a Psychonauts release date trailer here, if that's all it is, because that's the thing. I'm actually suspecting that any announcements we have from Microsoft will probably be third-party announcements and not an announcement from Microsoft itself, because I think that most things that typically get announced at the Game Awards, unless it's the Initiatives game, that's the only other thing I can think of. Because we do know that we're supposed to be hearing about that sometime before the end of the year.
That's a good call. That seems to match up with the weight of unveiling the console last year. Like, this is what this studio is up to. I agree with you for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's more than anything what we'll see. It'll be either the Initiative, and in fact, I'll narrow it down to that. The Initiative is a new game, or a Psychonauts release date trailer. It'll be one of the two of those. I hope it's what I suspect.
Yeah. This is where we get super disappointed. This is how Nintendo fans kind of act. It's like they're going to be giving us this big thing. I'm
keeping my expectations in check, where I'm like, that's the most I can see them doing. Because at this point, you might actually get that trailer for Final Fantasy VII, for example, in the pre-show. Because that's where we learned about Dragon Quest XI, for example. So, or coming to the console. So, I suspect you'll get that type of announcement there as well. Because we also know a PS5 version of that game is coming at some point too. So they'll probably actually announce that here. So that's another thing. Well, next up, Plastic Hearts Podcast at Plastic Heart Pod asks, 343 recently updated, said an update on Halo Infinite's development would come soon, but not at the Game Awards. When do we see that announcement? And will we see new gameplay or a new date? Should they keep their head down and work on the game, not seeing anything until it's done baking? I mean, ultimately, Plastic Hearts Podcast, what I personally think they should do is just not talk too much about Halo Infinite until they're ready to show it again. I think this top-level update that they're talking about, I think what they're referring to by top level is literally saying, look, here's the new plan for the game. We'll see you in 6 months,
a year
at E3 or something, kind of thing. Like,
good one. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I would suspect it'll be like them telling us when the next big update for the game is, and this is the direction and time frame we're looking at for the game. I suspect that's what this new announcement is. I don't think we're going to see gameplay until, I mean, unless the game's ready to come out in March or April or something. But I still highly doubt that's the case. Otherwise, we'd be seeing it at the Game Awards, like if it was coming out that soon. So, yeah.
It'll be so interesting to dive into what that announcement is, what that update is, and we'll learn so much more about that in terms of, or at least I think we'll have more to actually speculate on in terms of how long we're going to be waiting. But I'm kind of just like preparing myself for this thing's going to be a year, and I'm hoping for a pretty drastic overhaul, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm suspecting that this top level update they've referred to it as, I think that'll just be an Xbox wire post that will explain, here's the direction of the game, here's what we're doing to fix some of your criticisms, and here's when you can expect to hear more. Like, that's kind of
well. And do you think the Halo multiplayer launches separately from the campaign? Like, that is something that maybe they outline as well, as maybe that plan has changed, that that they'll maybe have the free to play stuff first, and then the campaign comes later.
I think it's more likely they have a beta rather than just releasing them separately.
Yeah,
because they seem to be really sticklers on the idea of keeping them together. So I suspect that there will probably be like an early access beta that comes to Game Pass like next year. Like early
that should have tipped us off to begin with, Ryan, that something was up, that we didn't get a beta. Remember when we were calling for it? We were sure that we were going to be getting one in the summer, and nothing.
Well,
we got nothing.
There's been one for every Halo since Reach, so I've been very surprised.
We knew the answer ahead of time.
Yeah, or actually, sorry, going back to Halo 3, actually, with Crackdown 3, that's the reason why people bought that game, to get the beta for Halo
demo.
3. Next up, Edward Varnell at That Retro Code asks, this may seem like more of the Nintendo side of things, but do you think Microsoft can outright make a gun action style game for Switch, and who could develop it for them that is not the Coalition? Does this change their relationship? So I think what Edward's trying to ask is like, could we see Microsoft developing like a third person shooter or a first person shooter for a Nintendo console? And if so, who would develop it besides the Coalition? And the answer is, I honestly don't think they're going to develop native games for Switch hardware. It'll be, at the most, it'll be ports of games that are already on Xbox, kind of like what they're doing now. I mean, I think Xbox though is kind of out of the Switch game unless Switch adopts the Game Pass model, like brings Game Pass into it. I think. Yeah,
no, I agree. Yeah, no, for sure. There's really nothing there, but maybe in a wishful kind of thing of like, how do you not hope that like Rare has something to do with something on Nintendo? I think that would be super fun. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Not realistically, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Next up, Seamus MacIsaac at Famous Seamus asks a couple questions, but they're quick ones. If you could replace any of the games nominated for the VGA's Game of the Year with any games you want, what would you choose to nominate? And I'm going to throw a little caveat in here. We both unanimously agree that Ori should be on this list. And
definitely.
I think you said Doom or Animal Crossing out, or The Last of Us Part 2, and then Ori in. I'm personally in the camp that I would actually probably just nix Animal Crossing and then put Ori in there. But
I heard Joseph on the trophy room, Bad Bit on the trophy room, make a really good point about Animal Crossing, in that game, as fun as it is, and I'm actually playing it now, so I can actually speak to this. It is missing some really core things that a game in 2020 has got to have. You've got to be able to like transfer your saves and have the cloud save type of stuff. Like, the way that you play that game is so archaic, and the way you engage with it is so old school, that there's no way that thing can represent gaming in 2020, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. So I think we both unanimously agreed, like, Ori should have been the game that was there. And it's a shame that it's not. The other one, of course, if Jeff Keighley came to us to create our own category for the VGAs, what would we make? I think you said best game innovation, like the Nemesis system or Drivatars. Would it be called the Xbox Drive Award, Sean, or the Drive Award or something like that, Sean? For innovation?
Like we would have the category for it, definitely.
Of course. I mean, if we're
named sponsored title,
if we're the ones who come up with this category, then I think we're the ones who should put that in there. I mean, yeah, like the other one I would throw in there is like maybe just like a best remake or remaster category. So then that way you wouldn't have so many remakes or remasters up against the other awards, because we see great remakes and remasters every single year. And I think they actually deserve their own category, and it would put some
I totally agree
on some of those games. And last but not least, Drew McMillan at D McMill, the real man on the moose, says, when do you think the Series X will be readily available? Also, are scalpers A, bad, or B, very bad? Well, Drew, I hope it'll be readily available soon, but I'm suspecting like early 2021. I mean, they've kind of come out and said that as well, but I mean, to be fair, we've been seeing them come up a lot on retailers over the last week here in Canada.
Big time.
I know Joel, aka Falcon, listener of the show, he was able to get a Series S a couple days ago. So yeah, I think that they're becoming more readily available, but probably like when you'll be able to go buy one off the shelf, it'll be like March of 2021.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like what he meant by readily available as well, for sure.
Anyway,
and
Sean,
scalpers are only bad because people buy stuff from scalpers. So don't let your friends don't let friends buy things from scalpers. You leave them with their stupid stock and screw them over. And that's what I've got to say about that. But Ryan, I know what you were going to ask, and you can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants. And if you guys enjoy the show, I would really appreciate it if you could support us at patreon.com/YouMeCapri.
Very nice, my friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. That's TURFORD, because everybody always asks. You also find us on Twitter at The Xbox Drive, or on YouTube at youtube.com/The Xbox Drive, or on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 168 of The Xbox Drive, and we out.
168 episodes in, and I still remember this man on the moose.